Yo guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another video and yet again another race reaction for the 2021 season. Today is the French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard, and I've got to be honest, I thought that was a banging race. Over the last few years, ever since we've returned to the track, I've never been a fan of the circuit and the racing over the last few years. Obviously we didn't race there last year because of COVID, but the last few years haven't produced any sort of good racing. I mean, 2019 was one of the worst Grand Prix I think we've ever seen in the modern era of Formula One. But I have to admit that was absolutely brilliant. I had low expectations for this Grand Prix, but it was an absolute banger. So let's get into it. So kicking off with the first team, we're going to go with Red Bull. Obviously, Verstappen winning the Grand Prix in a very, very shocking way, it has to be said. Obviously, he ran wide at the start in turn one, and that allowed Hamilton to obviously come through, take the lead. And then obviously when the first pit stop started happening, Verstappen managed to get back through. But Red Bull played a very clever strategy and pitted Verstappen on lap 35. Now, I have to be honest, when I first saw Verstappen pitting, I was like, wow, Mercedes have to respond. And as the laps kept going and going and going, and they didn't respond, I was like, what? What is Verstappen doing? What are Red Bull doing? But it turns out they sort of did a Mercedes strategy where obviously the leader pits sort of like halfway through the race and just chases down the leader, and that's exactly what happened. But honestly, he made it very close to the end. I think it was on the penultimate lap, down towards this chicane down the back straight. Yeah, brilliant from Verstappen. And once again proving that this season and this championship is going to be absolutely awesome to watch. So yeah, he also took the fastest lap of the race as well, so picking up the 26 points for the French Grand Prix. And Perez also on the podium once again after coming off the win in Baku. Had a fantastic Grand Prix. Was chasing Bottas down. He had a quiet Grand Prix, apart from, yeah, like I said, chasing Bottas down at the end of the race, and managed to get third place. So yeah, very good performance again from Red Bull. Verstappen obviously increases his championship lead. I think it's 12 points now. And obviously you can, I think they gained in the constructors as well. So yeah, very good job from Red Bull. On to Mercedes then, and I've got to be honest, much better pace this weekend. Obviously coming off Baku, which was a horrible performance from them, it has to be said, especially from Bottas. He had a better weekend. But I have to say, from Bottas, his defending is shocking. I've seen it obviously with a few times since he's been at Mercedes and stuff, but the guy can't defend for anything. Honestly, I swear to God. I know he was on old tyres, and I know Perez and Verstappen and all that were chasing him down, but how deep he went into the corner when Verstappen was chasing him down, it's just not good enough. I know, like I said, I know he's on worn tyres and stuff, but come on, you're not in the championship fight. You weren't. I know he was under pressure, but it's not, like I say, he's not like he's technically in the championship fight. And I just thought it was a bit shocking, really. And even when Perez was behind him, he sort of went deep as well. And I thought, oh God, but a much better performance from Bottas, I suppose. I mean, nothing can be as bad as Baku. And for Lewis, obviously, once again, yeah, second place. He did all he could on that last bit of the Grand Prix, and I think both Mercedes drivers were a little bit annoyed at the team, because I feel like in their minds they knew it was going to be a two-stop strategy, and obviously Mercedes just put them on the one stop and just hope for the best, I think. But yeah, either way, they weren't too impressed, neither of the drivers, but overall it's more points for Mercedes and it's better than Baku. McLaren, both sides of the garage, they had a much better weekend. Lando Norris in P5 and Daniel Ricciardo in P6. Much better performance from Ricciardo. Norris had a bit of a shaky start, it has to be said. I think he was down in P10. Ricciardo was ahead of him. And then, yeah, McLaren's had really good pace. About halfway through the race, Norris was just absolutely flying, passing everybody. He was passing Gasly, Alonso, Vettel. I think he even passed one of the Ferraris at some point as well. It just seemed like the McLarens were fighting everyone throughout that race. I don't know about you guys, but I just felt they were passing everyone, which is brilliant to see. But yeah, a good haul of points and a good weekend for McLaren once again. And I think that's definitely what Ricciardo needed after coming off Spain, which was a good weekend for him. And then Baku, obviously Monaco and Baku, yeah, just wasn't very good at all. So yeah, a much needed weekend for Daniel Ricciardo. Like I said, picking up P6. So yeah, good weekend for McLaren. We'll do AlphaTauri next, as Pierre Gasly is next in the order. So he finished P7. Once again, was in the midfield fight. Obviously had that little scrap with Norris as well when he sort of went up the inside at the really long right-hander through like sector 3. And then forced Norris off, and he went off himself, and Norris wasn't very happy with him. But yeah, I thought good performance again from Gasly. Another P7. I feel like this man has so many P7s in his career. It's crazy, or especially this season anyway. And then Yuki Tsunoda, P13, didn't really see much of him throughout the Grand Prix, didn't really have any pace. Don't think he made it through to Q3 either. Yeah, a little bit disappointing for Tsunoda at the moment, and he also crashed in qualifying as well. So that's his third red flag in this season in qualifying. So not a great record to have, but yeah, hopefully he'll bounce back, because I really rate Yuki Tsunoda. I think he's a brilliant driver, and he's got such a funny personality as well. But yeah, not a great weekend for Tsunoda. So next up is Alpine. Fernando Alonso finishing in 8th. Had a very good weekend actually. He made it through to Q3 as well. And yeah, had a good scrap with some of the Aston Martins, some of the McLaren, some of the AlphaTauris. Yeah, so a very good weekend for Fernando Alonso, picking up 4 points for the team. And Esteban Ocon down in 14th place. I didn't even know he finished 14th. Yeah, very quiet weekend for him, really. Didn't really see him much in the Grand Prix. Once again, I watched the highlights on Channel 4. But yeah, overall, just an average weekend for Alpine, I suppose. But yeah, like I said, I didn't even know Ocon finished in 14th. Aston Martin, they had quite a good weekend, both scoring points, Vettel 9th and Stroll in 10th. Once again, they were sort of in that midfield fight, sort of there or thereabouts with like some McLaren and the AlphaTauris and the Alpines. Yeah, like I said, I think they had a bit of a scrap with, I think Vettel had a bit of a scrap with Alonso and Norris and Ricciardo, which is good to see. But yeah, apart from that, I didn't really see much of Stroll, I don't think. He was making some good places as well, I believe, through the Grand Prix. But yeah, more points for Aston Martin, so good news there. So next up is Ferrari. They had a shocking weekend, it has to be said. They both made it through to Q3, which was alright. I think it was I know Leclerc was P7, I think Sainz was 5th. But they finished in the race 11th for Sainz and 16th for Charles Leclerc. I didn't even notice until sort of like the end of the race. He was down at 16th, I couldn't believe it. But I think Leclerc was struggling for balance all weekend. I think that's what I heard one of the commentators say. Yeah, just not happy with the car this whole weekend, unfortunately. So yeah, P16 for Leclerc, and considering he's come off 2 poles in the last 2 races, I think he'll be, yeah, not feeling great after that performance. And Carlos Sainz, yeah, I didn't really see what really happened to him either. Again, it might have just been Ferrari at this circuit, not really finding the setup, not finding the balance for the car, or finding the pace, unfortunately. So yeah, P11 and P16 for the Ferraris. So next up is Williams. George Russell coming home in P12. A really good race for George Russell. Once again, Williams not really had much pace. And I don't even really know where George Russell ended, how he ended up in P12. But it was such a shame. I was hoping a few of the midfielders could retire just so he could get in the points. But it didn't happen, unfortunately. But another good, strong performance from George Russell. And Latifi all the way down in 18th. Didn't have a very good weekend. Didn't really see much of him, unfortunately. Same with the Alfa Romeos. Giovinazzi was 15th and Raikkonen was 17th. Didn't really see much of them either. Again, didn't really show much pace throughout the field. And same with the Hasses, really. Mick Schumacher in 19th and Mazepin in last. But it has to be said, although Haas do have the worst car this year, they are still sort of keeping with the backmarker teams. I think Mazepin was only like 10 seconds off, or even, I can't remember, but I remember his team radio, it was like, well done Mazepin, you were only a few seconds off Mick Schumacher or whatever. But yeah, so it was promising from the Haas guys, but once again, can't really say much on them because, you know, they've not got a very good car this season. But it's better than obviously being 2 laps down and way off the pace. So yeah, there were only all of the cars that got lapped are a lap down anyway, so that's good to see. So overall, guys, it has to be said, the French Grand Prix did deliver. Those last few laps where Verstappen was just chasing Lewis, I thought Lewis was going to hold on because, like I said, it literally came down to the penultimate lap where Verstappen got past, and there was loads of traffic in the way as well. Those last like 5 or 6 laps, and I thought, oh my God, Lewis is just going to do it. And then unfortunately, Verstappen found a gap. There was no traffic, and then he was just managed to get past the DRS zone, unfortunately. I was very surprised as well that Hamilton didn't really sort of defend it either. He sort of just stayed on the racing line as Verstappen went up the inside. Obviously, I don't know if it was just because, you know, he didn't want to wreck his tyres anymore and he was worried about the tyre wear or worried about locking up, but he didn't defend at all. And I feel like that's not like Lewis. We're used to sort of seeing him put up a fight. And especially how much fresher tyres Verstappen had, I thought he was going to sort of go to the inside Lewis as Verstappen came around the outside, maybe push him wide at the chicane to maybe slow him down or whatever, and then build another gap to hold on for the final lap. But yeah, we didn't see that, unfortunately. But nevertheless, once again, this championship proving that it's going to be very close. I feel this championship is going to come right down to the wire. And obviously, once again, Red Bull putting Mercedes under pressure that little bit more. So I feel like it's going to push Mercedes. It's going to push Red Bull, obviously getting more confidence with all these wins that they're getting. It was also Red Bull's third win in a row, which has never happened in the hybrid era, which is insane. And I think it's the third. Was the only time Red Bull have scored 3 races in a row since 2013, which is crazy. Obviously, when Vettel was dominating in the Red Bull back in the 2013 days. But yeah, crazy stuff. But let me know what you guys thought in the comment section of this video. Leave a like if you have enjoyed and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I'll see you all again in the next one, guys. Take care.